gosh, please, Chantal, please.
Sorry.
Lord. Jesus. All right, you ready?
Jesus.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Unpack Your Bag Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Purse, co-host Chantal. Don't call her Shantizzy, just call her Chantal. If you see her, if you do know her, you might want to say it, but just be careful because you might,
Just be careful.
You don't want the hands.
Just be careful. I'm not giving nobody no hands.
She'll give you some words. Anyways, welcome back to the show. This is where we unpack our bag as it pertains to life, love, passion, and culture. And we want to jump right into this podcast today. I'm not going to waste any time. We want to talk about this particular topic. How do you know when it's time for a change in your life? What are the signals that life gives you that it's time for a change? And how do you identify what things need to be changed and what is important?
And like a dramatic change, like
moving out of the country,
moving out of the state, quitting your job. Shit.
Okay, so okay. I'm gonna jump right into this because I've done this numerous times.
Oh, okay.
Done a lot of life altering things on a whim.
You've done a lot of life altering things on a whim.
Yeah, I'm pretty impulsive.
Okay.
For example, first job I ever had, I quit because they told me I couldn't go out on PTO, so I just decided to quit and do what I wanted to do. Another job
that sounds right to me.
Okay.
I don't know.
So I was 18. I was working at the dollar movies, and I asked for the day off, and they said I pretty much couldn't have it. So I took the day off. They took the day. I took the day off anyways, and they called me. I didn't answer, and I was like, if they say that I can't have a day off, that I got coverage, everything was fine.
Right.
They just said no. I'm not working for you. That was my logic, and I decided no.
That I feel like that doesn't apply because that to me that sounds logical. Like I've done the same thing with the job.
Okay.
Like
You're
friend of mine was getting married, and at the time I was doing mind you, this was my second job, right? So this was like the extra.
Okay.
I'll say that I had a main job. This is my little second job, and it was like a job that was really hard. Like it was graveyard shift, watching at a group home, right? Okay. So I was basically staying up all night while these kids slept, okay. Right? And cleaning up the house. And I was like, so I'm not going to come in next weekend, because of blah, blah, blah. And the lady was like, but you have to come in next weekend because of this. And I was like, no. I don't. I was like,
no.
I just don't understand. Like it's a week in advance.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm just never going to be cool with, right?
Yeah,
if I give you enough time ahead of time.
There's no reason why you should say no.
There's no reason why you can tell me what to do with my time.
Thank you.
Right?
Especially when I have the time and it's not like I'm leaving stuff undone.
No.
That's what I don't get. Don't tell me I can't do something.
Yeah, I was like, and here's the thing, I'm not even asking for you to pay me, right? It'd be one thing if it's you have no sick or vacation time, whatever, right? And I'm requesting that, I get paid time off. I'm not even asking for that. I'm just telling you.
I'm not going to be here.
Right? I'm just telling you on some upfront stuff that I'm not going to be here next weekend, right?
Yeah. No, I get that.
And if you don't like it,
I did that too there's another job I had, and I was transitioning from a regular job into nursing, and I got a nursing job where I was working at before. I was working as just they call it a safety keeper, and I was a one-on-one for patients, and I was going into nursing, and I remember they had me working on the night shift, and I remember I was there, and I was and the pay was pretty good. It was $20-something, it was $20-something, most I ever had at that point. And I was this is pretty good, but this is crazy. What I'm doing here is so wrong.
Right.
I couldn't do my job correctly. And I was always worried, in the event I don't have enough time to do my job correctly. And if I can't do it correctly, this is my nursing license on the line, right?
Right.
So that day, I finished up my shift, and I was I knew in my head, I was I don't think I'm coming back. And so I closed my drawer out, did everything I needed to do, finished up. I ended up working 3 hours overtime, make sure my stuff was done. And then I left, and I was I'm not going back.
Bye.
Not going back. Mind you, I still have a family. I still have bills.
Yeah.
I still had all this, and I decided to leave with nothing else to coming in. It was just I'm not doing it anymore. Nope.
Yeah.
Done. And I went home, and I was I'm not going back. And then I was job search. Oh, shit. Whoa, indeed, you know. Boom,
right.
So,
Let me figure something out.
Yeah. So then I'm getting another job, but it was still like, I tend to do stuff like big changes that maybe I shouldn't do on a whim, But I also am confident enough to know like it's gonna be fine.
Maybe I need a little bit of that. Because I feel like I'm getting dangerously close to that point on the job that I am now. Like, dangerously close to just walking in one day and being like, you know what?
Done.
I can't. You know what I mean? Like, dangerously close. Not a 2-week notice. Not like I'm going to transition out at the end of the school year, right? But like...
there may be the day I'm just not coming back.
Yes. And I feel like I'm getting... And here's the thing. I know that that's okay, obviously, right? Yeah. Because the truth is that, A, it's a job, right? So...
This is a job, yeah.
It's just a job, right? And I've never been the kind of person that... So even though I've never been the kind of person that puts a lot of weight on a job, I've always had one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always had one,
yeah,
right?
Okay.
So the way that it was easier for me to just walk away from one, like, I think I've had a job pretty consistently since I was 18.
Okay.
Right? Like, I've never spent longer than like 6 months unemployed.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, pretty consistently, I was able to transition from this to this to this to this to this. And then for the bulk of that time, because it took me forever to get to graduate from college, I was also in school, right?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you've always been...
I've always had something, right? So this is pretty much the longest period of my life where it's just me working. And now I'm just like...
You kind of over it? Like,
I'm kind of over it. To be honest with you, I'm kind of over it. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see like what our listeners think. Like, what is that thing where you're like, you know what? I just can't do it no more, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that's okay, right? Like to just be like, I'm moving to Texas tomorrow. Like, that may happen, right? I may like walk out one day and be like, you know what? Let's try life in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, the housing prices in Texas, oh my God.
Dude.
I'm like, I understand why everybody moves there. I want to move there. I've been considered like for a cool minute.
Let's just try life in Atlanta. Let's try life somewhere else, because I tried life in California and it's cool, but like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, the prices, how much you pay for taxes.
The cost of living in California is fucking astronomical. Excuse my language, but it's okay. Stupid.
So we're talking about like change and stuff. I guess like this would be a good topic too to talk about when it comes to change. Like, so I don't really know this answer yet because I haven't done it. I'm going in this process eventually, but like I guess my question would be like, what about an entrepreneurship? What if you're working a 9-to-5 and you decide you want to go into entrepreneurship or a business for yourself, whatever the means that may be, or trading or investing, whatever it is. When is it that you decide that you're going to quit your job to go in full time for whatever it is your dreams are? You know? Like, that's a question.
That's a weighted question, but like, are you bringing in enough money to support yourself? Right? Granted, there's enough money to support the way that I'm living, right? To support a lifestyle, right? That's one thing, because your job kind of supports your lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But you're expected to take a little bit of a pay cut. You know what I'm saying? To go in full time to this entrepreneurship. So does this pay for me, right? Like, if I downsize and I cut me off, and you know what I'm saying? I figure out the minimum amount of money that I need to be straight. Does it take care of me? And if the answer to that question is yes, do it.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that your job is ever going to pay you enough to supersede your lifestyle. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like an exorbitant amount of money. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter how many raises, how many promotions. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, at a certain point, your job is not going to provide you with a luxury lifestyle. It can't. Do you understand what I'm saying? Especially for us in the middle.
Especially if you really want a luxurious lifestyle, like there's very few occupations that you can work like a 9-to-5 that will give you the lifestyle that you actually want. Very, very few. Unless you're like a doctor or something, like which goes 10, 12 years of school, and then you're still working for somebody anyway. So
if you're in the middle like us, then absolutely not. But I mean, here's the thing, man, and this is where California comes back into play, because making $100K a year in California is nothing.
It's really not that much.
It's not that much. It's not enough.
I promise you,
it's not enough. It's not enough.
You can be comfortable.
You can be comfortable for sure, but like, you're comfortable in an apartment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Even if you have a house, for example, like, it depends on where you live, but like, you're still not making that much to where you really can do what you want to do like that. Like, for me, like,
you're not.
Yeah, you know.
You're not. And people talk about 6-figure incomes like that's just the cream of the crop, and you're like,
it's not. It's really not that much. It's really not that much.
It's not.
And and talking about change too, I want to also bring this up. Like, I think with making a change in your life, I think you need enough self-awareness of you and like the things you truly want, like on a deep level, and like. You got to really, because like you doing the entrepreneur thing, for example, you're saying like you cut out some stuff. You got to really know what's valuable to you to know what to cut out, because someone's going to say like, we'll just cut off your TV and XYZ and blah, 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 But what if you're having Netflix for your, 2 hours of escapism that allows you to be able to be more productive in your life. You got to audit for you what's the most important things that you can live out and what you can't live without.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody needs Netflix per se, but
different folks, different strokes.
I like it too. But I mean, hey, I got YouTube, all right?
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
But I think it takes a good level of self-awareness, and I think you really got to understand like what it is like that you really truly desire and want.
There's so much about being an entrepreneur that requires that level of self-awareness, period, though, right? Because without it, you're not able to really ascertain what it's going to take. What success is going to take. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because again, everybody has a different work ethic. Everybody, you know what I mean? And all of those things are do or die detrimental. You know what I mean? One way or the other when you're on the entrepreneurial life, right? Yeah. Like the comfortable thing about having a 9-to-5, even though you're in a position where they're never going to pay you what you're worth, right? They're never even going to pay you, they're not going to pay you what you deserve. They're not going to pay you what you're worth. And they're not even going to compensate you really for everything that you do, right? Especially if you're somebody who brings a certain amount of passion and love to the job. Like, they're never going to compensate you for that, right? You could be a shell of a person, you know what I'm saying, doing the job. Granted, you'll do it worse, but you're going to get the exact same amount of money if you're bringing love, passion, and everything else to it, right? Okay. You're not going to get paid for that.
Yeah.
In a business, the love, passion that we're talking about, that's almost the thing that makes or breaks you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like it's different, but the comfortable thing about a 9-to-5 is that regardless of if you did your job well today or bad today, they're going to pay you the same. And they better pay you the same. You know what I'm saying? If I had the most productive week on the planet, I get the same amount of money as if I had like the week where I didn't do nothing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I get the same amount of money at the end of 2 weeks, and I better.
Yeah. But that's the catch-22 because it's like
that's the catch-22.
It makes you really comfortable,
right?
And so like,
but entrepreneurship, you can't have like a terrible week, right? Like a terrible week is like groceries,
all your money gone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't. It's like every day is depending on what you do. And I think it takes a level because like there's the whole thing like this last like 5 years about entrepreneurship and like it's cool and it's hip. It's like the thing to do. But I think it also takes like, are you willing to take on that like responsibility? Like with entrepreneurship, absolutely. It's like you are the boss, but also every customer is your boss now. Compared to going to work, you got a few bosses, and that's what you got to talk to. For sure. Now your customer is your boss, and like, it seems cool and it seems like great when you can own your own stuff, but like you got to wear a lot of hats.
You have to.
And so like, are you ready and capable of doing that? Is that something that you really desire, or are you just, some people would desire more just, stability. Yeah. And that's okay too. It just, but I think you got to really analyze what's for you.
What's for you.
Because someone will tell you something, but like it depends on your level of success of what you want. Like you define your success, so you should define like where that avenue should come for you.
Absolutely.
I think that question needs to be asked more often than just start a business or you do XYZ or just go to school blindly. Like, how do you know school is for you? Or just start a business. How do you know that's even for you? You know?
Absolutely.
So you got to get to know yourself on those levels, and really deploy self-awareness and be honest with yourself.
For sure. If you're not the one, like,
don't front it. Just don't be it.
If you're not the one, like, and you lack. But here's the thing, though, man. So many people like have businesses that lack professionalism, right? Like, you don't even return calls. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many small businesses like that, and
that's a huge killer.
And here's the thing, man, I don't want to be judgmental, but like there are certain things that I'm like a stickler for.
Me too.
And for me, like basic common courtesy that doesn't require like you to be taught, you know what I'm saying, is one of those things.
I agree.
If I call you, call me back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Simple.
Yeah. It's simple.
Simple.
Especially when it comes to business. Like I'm very big on professionalism.
Be open.
At the time you're saying you're supposed to be open and not late.
If it's on the menu, have it.
Yeah.
Like real simple.
That stuff
still
irritates
simple
me.
stuff.
For me
simple
personally,
stuff.
it does irritate me. It does irritate me with that kind of stuff because it's just like I don't understand. Like you're putting a professional hat on, so be professional.
For sure.
Like I'm not gonna go inside up and say these things and then not produce what I'm telling you I'm gonna produce. Right. At least produce what I'm saying I'm gonna be. If I'm gonna be open at 8, be open at 8.
Right.
But I think with like that goes along with like the change thing. And it's like, are you really ready for it? Or are you able to make the sacrifice necessary for it? And do you know yourself well enough to know like how do you deal with stress?
Mm-hmm. How do you deal with stress? Yes.
How do you deal like having multiple hats on and running different departments of your own business? Like, are you capable of running that? Are you capable of like looking at people's skills and saying what are they good at? What are they good in to be having a team? So like these things you can learn, but are you willing to put in the work for it? Are you willing to put in the work for it? And then like what's the thing? Like I'm a person who needs stability. Mm-hmm. I know that about myself. Yeah, I need stability. I need the stability of if I have a good week, you gonna pay me. Same thing. If I have a bad week, you gonna pay me, right? And I need that kind of stability. Right. The issue is that having that stability. One thing about working a 9 to 5, right, is that part of it keeps you so consumed with what happens in that 9 to 5 and so consumed with the money that you need to support your basic need, right? We're in California. We're not talking about exorbitant lifestyles here. Yeah. We're talking about car, gas, shelter, food, right? Car, gas, shelter, food, the basics. You know what I mean? Maybe like a trip to the salon. You know what I'm saying? But very, very basic things. Nothing exorbitant. Yeah. So you just don't have it to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that stability is like it's needed to even sustain the stuff that are just. You need the stability just to sustain your needs, your basic needs. It's everything. And the point that I was making was that because it keeps you so caught up in that one area of your life, you don't have the same brain space, right? To be creative. You know what I'm saying? You don't have the same brain space to be creative. You know what I mean? Like it takes more. You know what I'm saying? It does. It takes more to access that side of your brain. You know what I mean? To be like, okay, I'm gonna put this into me, or I had this idea. Let me work that out to see what that can look like to make some money, or I had this idea. You know what I'm saying? Because your brain is always doing 9 to 5 shit. Right. And so you like it's like a battery. Like it's a trade off. In the beginning of the day, you're probably more energized, have more brain power to use. By the end of the day, you're kind of like at 30%. You're dead left on the over, inside. Yeah. Dead. Dead on the inside. Oh my God. I'm serious, man. And here's the thing. I love what I do. Yeah. I love what I do. And it's hard because so much about what I do now is what I want to do long term for myself. You know what I mean? So the skills, right? And what I'm learning here every day. Okay. Right? But like Let's explore this a little more. What if I like bounce? Let's explore that because you're saying so you do what you love at this point, but I enjoy it. But there's a possibility that you could walk away from it. Absolutely, yeah. So what makes you walk away from the thing that you love? Is this more of an environment thing, or is it more of a lack of passion thing for what you do, or you feel like you're not being used and like for your skill set? Like, what do you think it is for you? It's a combination of a lot of things. It's about challenge, right? It's about being challenged. You know what I'm saying? So are you saying that you're not being challenged? Not at all. Okay, got it. Not at all. Doing what you love is one thing, right? But when you love something, there's the reason why you continue to love it, at least in my opinion, is because it continues to present new challenges, right? For me, I'm a person like, let's tackle this, let's figure this out. You know what I mean? That excites me. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy that, right? Yeah. But when there's not enough of that, right? And it starts to get monotonous. You know what I mean? And I'm a person that hates monotony. Okay. Like I get excited if I have something to do differently in the middle of the day to know that my days are going to look different, right? But every day your day is the same, and every day, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing pushing you to be greater beyond what your skills are at. Yeah, a trained monkey could do what I do, and nobody would notice if I put a trained monkey in my spot. Nobody would notice. You know, like that's a little bit how you feel. Yeah, I can understand. So it's that aspect of it is hard,
right?
Okay.
But the environment, the fact that, you know, I'm working with teenagers and things like that part of it I love, because I know long term this is definitely my purpose while I'm put on this planet, right?
Yeah.
So creating my own structure to do that is like the way that you want to live, essentially. But
so would you ever consider like being like a private teacher or like a homeschool teacher or something like that, or something individually that you can kind of control it a little more yourself? Would that be something you would consider ever in the future?
It depends on the circumstance.
Okay.
It depends on the circumstance, because when I say like this is something that I want to do, what I mean by that is I want to be in a position to create the programs. You know what I mean?
Got you.
I want to create. That's what I want to do. I want to create the programs.
So you want the infrastructure of how it's going to be, like the curriculum, what's going to be taught, why is it important that's taught this?
Why are we teaching them this? Why are we showing them this? I want the infrastructure. I want to create the programs, because at this point in my life, I feel like I've learned enough from every environment that I've been in education to understand like, no. What we're teaching them is only partly effective, right?
Yeah.
Because once they leave here, they still don't know anything. Essentially, right? Like we're putting kids in school for, 12 years, and at the end of that process, they still don't really know anything. Think about that for a second.
I understand.
Like they still don't really know anything. Whereas in other countries, like in China, they're done with school pretty much at 14, and at 14 and from 14 up, they're going to a trade that specializes in what they're going to do for the rest of their life at 14.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Here it is. We're keeping kids in school till they're 18 and then telling them to transition to a trade, which is fine. But imagine being the kid who, I don't know anything.
And it's crazy, because that's how a lot of, like, even for me, like I grew up and went to school, and I didn't know really anything of the basic necessities of life outside of just what I need to know for school.
Like how to live.
Like I didn't know how to live, and there's no cooking classes, no training, no budgeting, no finance, no understanding what interest is. Like this wasn't ever explained to me. And I didn't even understand the importance of credit. I didn't even understand this till maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. Maybe.
Right. Boom. So literally,
and that's
we're
something
30.
really important.
Yeah, and we're in our 30s.
Like I knew about credit, I just didn't understand the importance until like after being around people that understand credit.
How to value it, how to build it, how to grow it, how to leverage it.
Yeah, then it taught me like why it's important to pay bills or keep your credit a certain score, because it gives you more leverage later on, and it makes you actually able to save more money and get better deals for loans, and it also can give you access to more money. So like, but I wasn't taught it. I just wasn't taught. Like my mom knew about credit, but I didn't get taught it, So for me, it was just, I had to learn trial by fire. And, unfortunately that's kind of the world we live in, but now there's more access to stuff. But I think it comes down to, you really got to want it too. You really have to want it.
You do have to want it. And that's the tough part, man, because I'm not like at a traditional school, right? So much about where I work, has really changed this a lot, right? They offer so many things for students, which is fantastically great, that I would have never imagined being a part of in high school. But like, that's still only half the story. You know what I mean? Like I still need, my whole goal is to just create the infrastructure, right? I don't know what that looks like. Well, I do kind of know what it looks like, but you don't know what the process is going to take you to get there. I have no idea. I have no idea. It's not the good thing. It's the stressful part. Because if that was the case, right, then that's my business, obviously, right? I could just go quit and go do that, right? And it's very clear to me I could quit and go do that, but then I quit and then go do what? You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So
you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let's go a little deeper. You can use this opportunity that you have right now to learn more about how infrastructures are built while you're here. Then what you could do is take that information and start applying it after, when on your free time. But it also takes a level of discipline and a level of like energy that, are you really willing to put in? Because like these sound good, but ultimately, like our situation is, are you willing to put into work for the true solution that you want?
Where do you learn it from? Right? Like, where do you learn it from? Because like you said, is like, that's great, but like, where do you learn it from?
Yeah, hold on.
Where the hell dog at?
He's outside on the leash.
Oh.
I knew it's what you're looking for.
Damn. Oh, gosh. It's been open for a minute.
You thought he might have ran off of him?
No.
I put him out there.
He did, y'all. He did, y'all.
I'm like, well, all right, well.
He did, y'all.
I'm like, I was gonna be like, no, I was gonna be like, anybody want us to buy a cage? Like that was the first thing. Like, how we gonna make some money?
Podcast. He did. He did.
That's my wife, everybody. That's my wife.
He did, y'all. I killed him. He did, y'all.
She left the garage open for a minute. She didn't see nothing.
He did, y'all. He killed him.
But no, I think it's important.
He did, y'all.
No,
Sorry.
I think it is important though. Like with that situation, like this is a good example because this is what a lot of people do live through. Like this is like a change for you to go into a level of like productivity that you may need to do in order to get your accomplishment years down the line. And the only way around it is to quit.
For sure.
But if you can't quit, then the only way, the only other option is to do it on your free time.
Yeah, and it just
and make some sacrifices, and it's not easy.
It just shows you how like these things aren't that simple, right? Like the intricacies that are connected, because like. Yeah, like increase the productivity and learn, but who is it that I'm learning from? You know what I mean? What specifically am I supposed to be learning? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's like it's all jumbled in there together.
Yeah.
So and here's the thing, the people that I have access to may not even be the people to teach me about how to develop the infrastructure because they also work within it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But they may know somebody they can refer to.
They don't.
Oh, shoot.
You know what I mean? Like we don't. We've been here before. So it just explores the nuances of this conversation, right? And how people just really get to a point where it's like, I need something to shift.
Yeah.
I need something to change, right? And we are the agents of that. Right? But we don't know how to act within it. You know what I mean? We don't know how to tap into the power that we have to change our situations, right? We don't know how to do that. So
and I'll even use myself for example, because I'm going to be starting a business one day. And I'm working on that process, but I don't really know, like no one in my family has done this, you know, and I'm kind of like going trial by error, like as I go. So trial by fire, whatever it is, whatever the term is. So what I had to do was like, I've been doing a lot of research on my own.
Right.
And then what I had to do is pay somebody that knows it.
Yeah.
That's the only way like you can figure out yourself by just grinding and error and, you know, or just save enough money to pay somebody who knows how to do it. Because like they're gonna do it, they already know. I don't have to pave my own entire way.
Right.
I'm paying you for your knowledge
you don't
right
have
now,
to recreate
so
the
I
wheel.
can just get there quicker. You know.
Yeah.
So there's the options, but you know, financially that you have to prioritize some things. Like I got to take away some things in order for this to go. So then I do this, so later on in my life I'll be fine. But it also takes like, is it something that you're really willing to do? Right. And also it's something that you really want to do.
Right.
And you got to know yourself. And so those things, like for change, like you got to really know who you are. Like you can't be on surface level shit. Like it has to come from a deeper, like I'm going to put all this money and take all this time because I really desire this.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and really get to the root of like, is this something you really want? And why do you want these things? Like,
and then dive into that.
Yeah. Like
at first.
You want an empire or you want like $1 million business. So why do you want this $1 million business?
Or I
like,
just want $1 million.
So why do you want it?
Whichever comes quicker.
So why do you want $1 million though?
I would like to be able to live the way that I want to in California.
And what okay. So
if we were in Texas, I would only ask for, you know, 6 figures.
So what would that bring you, like getting to live what you want to live? What would that ultimately bring you?
So the cash aspect of this really eliminates everything I just said about trying to, you know, figure out the infrastructure, right? Okay. The cash that I just talked about helps me to create my own infrastructure, right? So like you said, like what does that $1 million do? Like it's that influx of cash that you need to create the infrastructure, right? Because without it, you have to figure out a way to work within either a current one, you understand what I'm saying? Or spend a whole lot of steps to go get the money. You know what I mean? Figure out how to get the money, how to finance it, whatever, right? Okay. But the $1 million helps you to create the infrastructure. Once you have the infrastructure created, right? Then after that, it's simple. After that, it's simple and we're living the dream. You know, trying to keep a program funded is different than trying to get a program funded.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, man, $1 million, which will go incredibly fast. Like it will go super quick. $1 million, me and 2 other people, a building, and some programs, right? And some programs that we would write out, and obviously contract and use those programs to contract with other auxiliaries to get the students to flow through our thing.
So if you got the $1 million, what would that bring you besides like the school? Like, so you want to do the infrastructure for like a school or whatever, right?
Not a school, but
or some kind
similar.
of program. Okay, right. So what would that ultimately bring you in the end of this?
The $1 million?
Yeah, like, or having the so say you build it. Why did you want to build the infrastructure?
So the only way, so what I'm talking about obviously is some sort of community center. I don't know if that's the correct name for it, but that's what. So when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about that, the pieces of that, right? Okay. So that comes with, in order for it to be a community center, that comes with a certain amount of not really protections, but things from the city, right? The community in which it operates. Yeah. So you need that support. Okay. That's one layer of support.
Okay. But why do you want a community center? If you were going to use an example, like, I don't know if it's not that per se, but this goal, like infrastructure, community center, why do you want that?
Because a community center essentially will act as the cover, right, for the programs that we're able to have in-house, right? Okay. So it's gonna be it acts as like the one-stop shop for the programs that we're able to get students to come in and out of to learn essentially what it is that, I think that they haven't been. Okay. They haven't been. So whether that's from the school district, whether that's from the juvenile court system, you know what I mean? Wherever that's from, right? It provides the structure, the place, the thing.
I got you. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That they're able to go and flow in and out of.
Okay. And so what would you feel like if you were able to achieve this? What would it make you feel like?
I don't think it's a matter of making me feel like anything. It's just purpose. You know what I mean? It's like what I was put here to do.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think you would feel like, after you achieve this and you see,
there's never a point where
not like achieve, like it's the ultimate goal, but like, I mean, like you get your program, this started, it's running, and you're seeing kids come in, what do you think you would feel like?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
No idea. Like, good, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So I'm getting at is that ultimately you wanting to do like a school program for kids is ultimately going to make you somewhat happy.
School, no.
Not a school necessarily, but I mean, with the sake of, trying to build infrastructure for programs for kids to have skills about life that they need to know. Yeah. What ultimately make you what? Happy?
Sure.
Okay. So then ultimately, like, the drive for this is like you in turn are two things. You are striving for helping your community and people, and also striving for something that's going to make you happy in the process of helping somebody.
Like happy, I feel like happy is such like an understatement, right? Like
maybe joy.
Joy is such an understatement too. Like there is no greater feeling, right, than walking in your purpose. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like there's no greater feeling than that. So how would I feel? I would feel like
ecstatic.
I would feel purposeful. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I would feel purposeful. I would feel like I'm affecting changes in the community. That's what I would feel. I would feel purposeful.
Okay. What if you were to do it in a different fashion? Would you still feel the same way, or would you think your purpose is more in the designing the programs? Like, what if you can change the lives without necessarily making a program? Do you think you would feel
without the infrastructure necessarily?
Yeah, would you think you would feel the same, or do you think you're more purpose driven as for like having a whole entire center?
I think I could feel the same. I think it would be harder though, because essentially the people who write the programs for this shit very rarely see them implemented. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like we have these old people who were in education at one point in their life, right? Or in the field, right? At one point in their life. And they're like, this will be good, right? And then
they just throw it out there, but there's no...
Throw it out there. They throw it out there. They get it funded. And then, it's people on the bottom like me, essentially, what I do now to work it out, to walk it out. You know what I mean? And they're just up there like, yeah.
So it sounds like people that are making the decisions aren't necessarily dealing with the consequences of the decisions that they make.
But that happens in every sector of industry, right? Every sector of industry, you have the people at the top who make decisions, right, for the people at the bottom to carry out, right? Yeah. And quite honestly, it's the people at the bottom who are really able to tell you the effectiveness of this program, because there's the ones distributing them. But how often in any environment, in any workplace, do you have that opportunity? You understand what I'm saying? To really say, you know what? I know that this is great, but like, let's look at it from this angle, or what we intended is not really working. How do we do this? How do we do that? But what I've learned in my experience is that people don't really want that. You know, when you go into interviews and you're talking to people, they don't really want to know the ways that we can fix things, right? Because that idea is too big. We need to know somebody who's going to be able to maintain the status quo and make small changes along the way. That's what we want, right? We need somebody who's going to keep the ships sailing
and not change the whole infrastructure.
Yeah, we don't want nobody to blow no shit. We don't want I like your idea and that's dope, but we can't really blow your shit up right now, right? Because then you got to look at other things that people on the bottom don't have to think about. You got to think about budgets. You have to think about staffing. You have to think about your stakeholders. You have to think about how community members, parents, board members are going to react to this, right? So granted, they do have a different perspective, right? But at the same time, that has to be, for me, that I don't know how to balance that with, okay, we came up with something and yeah, it's fine. Like, it's cool, right? And it's cool. But like, do you want it to be great, right? Do you really want to fuck some shit up, right? Like, cause you know, that's me, right? And then I come in with these great ideas, or these, not necessarily great, but these huge ideas. And they're like, wait,
like this, it doesn't work this way. There's things you don't know, or this, we're not even trying to do that. You know,
we just going, so what I need you to do is we're going to keep the trains running, right? And we're going to maintain the status quo, right? And we're going to make the changes where we can, because we can't blow no shit up. We don't have the money for that. You know what I mean? Or we can't blow no shit up, right? Because we going to have everybody looking at us. You know what I mean? Like, we can't really, no, we going to keep the trains going.
And so one thing that poses a good question to this is like, the people that are making these, you know, these decisions, the infrastructure and all this kind of thing, like who made these decisions a long time ago or whatever, it's like, maybe that decision, maybe that worked at that time, but it may not work right now. And number two is like, was that person really honestly qualified in this particular field to have the information to make a decision like that? Because some people, like for example, can go to school and get like a good education, for example. But like, they know nothing about physics, but they're over there trying to talk about something that they don't really understand the full concept. That somebody who's been in the game may not have as extensive degrees, but knows it because they've been in this field for 15 years. So they know it on a different level, but because your prestige of having education will put you over someone else's head that was like, were you really qualified to make that decision with knowing the industry like other people do? And that's a question that I think we need to like somewhat address with a lot of government programs, funding, all these things like. You know, and we're going a little off topic. You know, we're talking about change and stuff, but
no, but this is good because I've been reading about this. Okay. One thing that I am learning about leadership, right, to what you just described. Do you have the qualifications to make this decision? One thing that I'm learning about leadership is that in order to be the CEO of a company, you don't have to know about the inner workings of what it is that they're creating, right? That's not a requirement, right? Andrew Carnegie, I was reading this book, and it gave an example about
Think and Grow Rich.
I think it's Carnegie, and Carnegie was the steel guy in back in the day, right? Millionaire dude, made like one of the rich, extremely wealthy man in steel, right? Railroads and stuff, right? In the steel industry. When he got ready to turn over his company to somebody, he did not turn it over to somebody who knew the steel industry. He turned it over to Charles Schwab. Do you know why he turned it over to Charles Schwab?
No.
Because Charles Schwab was a people person. Charles Schwab knew how to build, grow, and nurture relationships, right? And make everybody feel heard and understood so that they were empowered to go do the steel stuff. He himself didn't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? Or very little information. And he was able to take the company and grow it, knowing nothing about steel. So that makes me think that, do the people making these decisions actually have the know-how to make them? I'm starting to think that probably not. And I'm also starting to think that that is not a requirement for great leadership, right?
I agree.
In order to move the thing forward. So that's a mind fuck, right? Excuse my language. But that's a mind fuck though, because it's like when you're the person at the bottom, right? Checking the temperatures, right? Doing what it is you do as a nurse, doing what I do as an educator, right? With the students, you would think that you would want somebody to know kids, right? In order to make decisions about kids, right? Or maybe you need to know something about patient care and medicine in order to make decisions about patient care and medicine. No. What if all I need to know about, right, is people?
Okay.
That's it. And that enough is what will bring our company, our thing, to the next level. Maybe it's not about what it is that we think we know or the experience that we think we've gathered in a certain field. Granted, it helps, right? But I'm talking like big picture wise, big bosses, right? Fortune 500 CEOs. Maybe that's not necessary.
I wouldn't say that that's necessary either, because like we can use the podcast, for example. I don't have to know how to do everything. I just have to know that the people who are doing it know how to do it well enough, like good enough. And if I know that they're good, all I got to do is trust their word and make decisions based on what they're telling me. I'm the orchestrator.
Yes.
You know,
Puppet master.
I don't need to play the cello. I don't need to play the violin. I don't need to play the trumpet. I need to put you guys in your right places.
I don't need to know shit
great.
about the steel industry.
You know, But the problem is that there's people out there that are the CEO, for example, or, you know, over something, but then trying to make decisions on particular things that they know nothing about. Like, but they think because they're
the CEO,
or because they have this prestige education, that because they're smart in this area, maybe they're smart in running a whole business, but they're not smart in this department. But then they try to make a decision for that department like they know it because of their ego or, you know, whatever it is. And so that's where I'm thinking an issue lies with some things is like, some people's ego is in the way and they're trying to make decisions, but they're not really looking at the big picture of like, this is not my area to make the decision. It's my area to put the people in place to make the decisions. Right. And I think that's where something that may get confusion or lack of accountability in some areas.
So prior to this moment, if you were to ask me why I think I should be a leader, right? In any particular industry, why do you think that you should get the promotion, the raise, or anything like that, right? My answer would almost always come back to the experience that I've gained working with the people. You know what I'm saying? The actual things, job specific things that I have done. You know what I mean? The curriculum, the homework, the instruction, you know what I'm saying? Right. All of this stuff, right? And now I'm like, none of that shit matters. And it's mind blowing to me. Like, it's so mind blowing to me that the more that you really want to be in a position of leadership, right? The more you realize how much of the stuff that we hung our hat on, right? That we did well. Yeah. Right?
The ego part, like, yeah, that's me. Like, I did that.
I learned that, right? Don't none of that shit matter. Like, it doesn't. It absolutely does not. It does not. And I think that's...
Let me tell you a big secret that I've learned. I've gotten jobs. I have good qualifications, but I got jobs that I was never qualified for. Because of my people skills.
That's all it takes.
100%.
That's all it
takes. I got a very good job. I did horrible on the clinical side. I pretty much bombed the clinical side. But because I knew how to deal with people well, I knew how to have like conflict resolution. I knew how to talk to people. I knew how to calm them down. Like, my people skills are really, really good. Right. And that got me the job. Not even nothing. It didn't even matter if I was a nurse like that. It just mattered, am I able to deal with these people? And I am, and then that got me the job. It wasn't even my qualifications. It wasn't my credentials. And they even told me, So I'm like, to my head, that is one of the most important things for a career.
Yes.
Is if you know how to get along with people and be around people
any
and
career,
be personable, that will sell beyond. Because if it was my company, I'd rather take somebody who is not as good at their job but really good at people than an asshole who is like 100% great.
But even if you're not an asshole, right? Because I mean that's glaring, right?
Yeah,
like
it's kind
an
of
asshole is super extreme,
yeah, you know,
right? But even if you're not an asshole, you're just like a regular person who hasn't invested that much time in your people skills, but are super competent. The person that is good with people will even exceed this person.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the biggest cheat code to life that nobody ever told me.
Yeah, I didn't know this until me 2 years ago.
The biggest cheat code to life that nobody ever told me is that no matter what it is that you do, no matter what field of industry that you are in, your people skills will determine almost everything.
Yeah.
Not your ability to solve problems.
Unless you're a coder, the only thing you could do.
Right.
For one exception.
Right.
But
Unless
really,
you're building bombs, right?
Yeah.
But even then, the difference between the person building the bombs and the project manager, right, is their people skills.
Yeah, because you can manage people without having to be great at your job. You just have to know, like, your audit. So that's one thing I want everybody to take away is like, you have to have personal people skills.
You have to.
And this is not even just for a job, but this is for everything in life.
Everything
wherever you go,
do
like,
is centered around this skill.
You know? And I'm not saying that people person doesn't mean you have to be a pushover or let people walk over. It's just like you got to know how to maneuver with people. You got to know how to get people comfortable. You got to know how to
talk to them, how to make them feel comfortable. You know what I mean?
Open up to have a conversation. Like those things are
how to talk
extremely
to them,
important.
How to make them feel comfortable.
How to open them up to actually say a problem that they have.
Yes, how to open them up. How to get people to move in one singular direction, right?
Yeah.
How to get this guy who doesn't want to go on the bus to get on the bus. How do you get this guy on the bus? That's going to determine if you get the job or not, right?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, the autistic kid in the corner, no shade, but like the autistic kid in the corner playing with the balloons and you need him to get on the bus, getting him on the bus is literally how you get your job.
Yeah. So, I think that's something that's never really talked about. It's like always about like the skills, hustle. But it's like there's a whole other side of this, which is like people.
Yeah.
Because in the day, you're going to interact people no matter what you do, where you go, however you do. You're always going to be around people.
When I read that fact about Carnegie and Charles Schwab, my mind was blown. Like, it was really blown because it's like this dude was like the wealthiest dude of his time, right? Like Carnegie, making all of this money, and I'm pretty sure it's the steel industry, if I'm not mistaken. Making all of this money.
Yeah.
And if it's me and I'm making all of this money, you don't give the job to a steel guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like, no, you give it to the people guy, and you're like, wait, what? You gave it to the people guy, but he don't know shit about.
Yeah, and that's the thing, managing. You don't have to know everything.
No.
And that's what we need to understand is like if you, as an entrepreneur, you don't have to do everything right. You just got to have people skills to figure out who is good for these particular things and put them in their perfect places. And that's how you grow.
It's literally that in a nutshell.
So if you're good at having auditing skills for people and seeing like, okay, what are they good at? What are their attributes? And how are they? Their personality kind of puts them over here. Maybe I should put them more of the kids, the younger kids, because they're more fun and vibrant.
All of that.
Those things have to be
all that.
And that comes down to your self-awareness. Like
all that. And your ability to deal with people, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, like that's something that I have to work toward. Like for me, it's something I have to work for. Because if somebody just says something and then you ask that question, I'm already frustrated. Right? Like if I say turn left and then click your blinker.
Which way you say turn?
And then if somebody and then right? You raise your hand and say, so after I turn left, I'm gonna click my blinker, right? What the fuck did I just say?
What I just said?
That's just what you know what I mean? So for
me,
me, like I have to work for that. And for whatever reason, with kids, it's I have so much patience for children. I don't know why. So much patience for children. Right? I can go over it. Yep. You're going to turn left. Yep. Very good. Good job, sweetie. Right? Like I can do that all day long with kids. But for whatever reason.
Once they're 18.
With adults, for whatever reason, with adults, like my patience gets thinner. And I'm like, I just said that.
I can understand.
You're not listening, right? Like,
I totally
like for whatever
understand.
reason. So for me, that's definitely something that I have to work at. And lucky for me, I have been working at it, but not lucky enough to where like it ain't there yet.
It's still
something I have to think about.
I understand.
Right? Like I'll do it now, right? But I've grown
but you still
since
kind
the
of
last.
struggle with it,
like this time last year when we were talking about people that made my booty itch.
You did
At work, like I'm
so uncomfortable. I remember that day. I'm like, oh, it's just like, because you know what it feels like. It's just like the worst.
You know
especially
what
when
it
you can't
feels
scratch.
like.
You can't scratch. You
You
over here
know
like,
what it
oh,
feels
just like
like.
it's just dry.
That's why it was a perfect example.
It was.
So since
was.
that point, I'm grown, right? My booty is itching less and less.
Clean your ass, okay? Just wash your ass. Use a bidet or something. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? So because of that, like there's growth in that area, but it is still something that I have to like be intentional about. Because I'll be like,
yeah.
no, it's okay.
And that doesn't bother me. Like that's crazy because that's something that doesn't bother me. But I'm not a teacher. I know me. I don't have good skills at teaching because I get really like frustrated, and I think that I forget that people don't know as much as I know, and so I'm trying to explain something to you. I forget that I cut corners and stuff.
Yeah.
So I get frustrated when someone doesn't understand when I say something directly. I don't. It just makes me like. So I learned I'm just not a teacher. It's not me. It's not.
It's just
not me at all.
It's just interesting the things that you learn later in life, right? How good you are at your job don't even matter. Like it's terrible.
Are you able to finesse are you able to have the people skills to finesse?
Yeah, because you've been taught like be good at your, like you get taught shit that really don't matter. You know?
Yeah.
It really don't matter.
Hold on. I think you still should be good at your job.
Obviously.
But I do think going above and beyond your job
if you think
will help you get into different positions.
But if you think that alone is enough to help elevate you, it's not.
Yeah,
that's what I'll say. Right, like
the people
it's
skills
good,
with the right work,
but
and the work ethic. I mean, you're bound for greatness.
Yeah,
but,
if you think that is good enough, if you think that you being good at your job is good enough, it's not.
Yeah, you gotta be. You gotta be around people.
It's just not.
I think that's a skill that everyone, including myself, because sometimes I'm pretty good at it, but sometimes I'm just like, But it really depends on the day. Most of the time, I'm pretty like, I'm okay. But when it comes to teaching, I'm just like, But we have a problem, we would talk about, discuss it, cool. You know, I do this all the time. I do this all the time. Patients all the time. They come to me saying like, "Oh, I'm not taking these benefits. My wife is gonna lose their job because you don't want to use transportation," is what they're saying. I don't want to use your transportation, so my wife's gonna lose her job because she has to take me for a ride. I'm like, well, you're telling me that you're putting your whole family in jeopardy because you don't want to take this inconvenient transportation? Is that what you're telling me, sir? Like, you gotta be straight up, like, you know. But I never was rude. I was like, I just want to clarify. So you're saying you're denying the transportation, and your wife may lose her job that she just got, that you said she worked so hard to get, because you're going to make it inconvenient and not use transportation that's a little inconvenient for you.
Right.
And now your wife's going to lose her job and you're going to lose your house.
And then after he just quiet, he just like.
And they said, "Oh, well, we'll see what it go." I'm like, okay.
See,
like, you know,
this is why you're better than me.
I'm like,
because
okay,
if I would have been in this
same
situation, somebody would have told me that. You know what I would have said?
What?
Okay, bye. like that's why. Like that's a perfect example. That's the perfect example because I'd have been like, all right, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you down as a no. Like, and you know, if you need anything else,
gosh, I can't.
You know?
I still care.
And I would have been like, and if you need anything else, holla at me, right? Like that's me caring.
Yeah.
Like if you need something, call me back.
Yeah,
right?
no.
That's me caring, right? That's literally me caring. And then in the meantime, I'm like, okay.
Well, they're calling they need me.
Like that's me. That is me to the T.
I'm told off. I'm like, I care when I care. Like, man, that's like, I want to help.
That's
like,
beautiful.
I genuinely care.
So you're telling me.
I genuinely care when I'm explaining. I'm like, so I want you to really understand. Like, are you telling me this and this? Because I want you to say yes. Because I don't want it to happen to you either. I care. I honestly care. And they're like, no. I'm like, are you sure? I had to say, are you sure? So just to you are clear that you know what you're about to do.
100% what you said. Like,
and then I still had the nerve to go after that and still try to find other resources to see like what we can do. But we got to wrap it up. We've been on 53 minutes. We got to wrap this up.
That's it. Everybody go home. And I was really honest on this podcast today. So
I know. I was like, ooh, dang.
If anybody at work listens to it, oh well. I love y'all though. Like, thank y'all for listening. I appreciate the support.
It's not you guys ain't the problem.
You know, I appreciate the support, but
yeah.
It be like that sometimes.
But I think a lot of this has to come down to self-awareness, like what you want and what you truly desire. Once you know what you really want,
right,
deep down, and not just I want a lot of money. Why? Ultimately, if you realize that money is going to bring you these things, that ultimately those things will make you happy.
Right.
You're actually looking for happiness, not just the money. But the avenue, money will help you get to that point, but you're not really chasing the money. So I think that's a good conversation. But thank you, Chantal. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for listening. If you made this far, you're going to get a bonus clip. So I guess you'll know if you made this far. Anyways, thanks for tuning in so much.
I'm over it.
I know you are. It's okay. It's okay. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it. Love y'all on this episode of Unpack Your Bag Podcast. Until the next one, peace, love, and hair grease. See you soon.
Woo.
Bon voyage.
Woo.
So, whoop.